Warning: viewer discretion is advised. Hi friends, welcome to Meals to Unalive For, where we talk about a true crime case and I make a death row meal from scratch. I'm your host Jody Breton, and if you enjoy this episode, please like and subscribe. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, all the things, so come find me. Today we're talking about a man named Donald Edward Beaty out of Arizona. Donald was born February 7th, 1955, and I don't have a lot of information on what his upbringing was like, where he was born. There's not a lot of information to go on. I do know that he did not have a previous record of really any offenses, including child abuse. So that was awfully surprising that it seemed to escalate, at least that we know of. Christy Ann Fornoff was a 13-year-old female news carrier for the Phoenix Gazette. On May 9th, 1984, Christy was collecting her newspaper accounts at the Rock Point Apartments in Tempe, Arizona. Christy's mother, Carol, actually went with her to go collect the money from the different patrons, but she apparently started talking to one of the neighbors, and while she was talking, Christy went ahead and started collecting the money, so she was right in the apartment complex when Christy went missing. When Christy didn't return, they went looking for her, and a search of the apartment complex took place. They did find her collection book by a fence near the complex, but she wasn't found. When I read this, it made me so incredibly sad because she clearly was trying to be a good mom and go with her and make sure that she was okay, and she was right there, and it still wasn't enough to protect her daughter, and that just broke my heart. Very soon after, police jumped into action and a full-blown search was conducted looking for Christy, but unfortunately she was not found. It was said that Donald actively quote-unquote searched for Christy, so he was part of the police search to find her. In the early morning of May 11th, Joseph Cap, a tenant, encountered Donald while throwing out his trash. Donald told Cap that he had found the body behind the dumpster and that he had called the police. Cap observed the body, spoke with Donald for a few minutes, and then returned to his apartment. The police later arrived and determined that the body was Christy's. Donald, however, was not telling the truth because when Cap found him looking at Christy's body, he had not already called the police, and after speaking to Cap, the police concluded that Donald had moved Christy's body before the police showed up because there was no way that he could have seen Christy's body from the angle at what she was. So it was clear that he was hiding something almost from the get-go. A medical examiner concluded that Christy had been smothered to death and that she was essayed either during or shortly after her death. They also determined that she likely passed away within 2 hours of her disappearance. Vomit smeared on the body matched a substance found in Donald's closet. The blood, semen, and hair found on the body was consistent with Donald's. Hair found on the body matched Donald's carpet and a blanket in his bedroom. Ferret hair was found on the body. The tenant who lived in Donald's apartment a few months prior to the murder owned a ferret. Police records show that Donald had called the police at 5:52 a.m., and according to Cap, they had returned to his apartment at 5:50 a.m. So it's just not possible that he called the police before he talked to Cap. Donald also told police that he was with George Lawrence, a tenant at the time of Christy Ann's disappearance, and that Teresa Harder, another tenant, saw them together. However, Lawrence denied being with Donald that night, and Harder simply denied seeing them together. Donald also claimed that the police had searched his apartment the night of Christy Ann's disappearance. However, the two officers who had searched the complex claimed that they did not enter Donald's apartment. Finally, the police found it suspicious that Donald had attempted unsuccessfully to borrow a friend's car at 11:30 p.m. the night after Christy Ann disappeared. The police speculated that Donald wanted to borrow a car to move the body. On May 21st, 1984, Donald was arrested and charged with Christy Ann's murder and SA. A couple months later, Donald would be transferred to the jail's psychiatric unit, as he was not getting along with the other prisoners. Donald underwent a hunger strike and also complained numerous times about the treatment from other inmates, but he was a child killer, so is anybody really surprised? During this time in the psychiatric unit, Donald would also participate in group therapy, and multiple of the other participants called him cold-blooded. And as a way for Donald to explain himself, he had said that he didn't mean to unalive Christy. He explained that he accidentally suffocated her when he put his hand over her mouth to muffle her screams, which is so sad, and I don't think it changes anything personally. This comment would ultimately be his biggest downfall because he had the first trial and it ended up in a hung jury. But during his second trial, prosecutors learned that the psychiatrist had overheard Donald saying this to someone else, and basically he had confessed to the unaliving of Christy. So the psychiatrist was ordered to testify against Donald, saying that he did in fact do it. After spending 27 years on death row, Donald Beaty would be put to death by lethal injection on May 25th, 2011, and he was pronounced dead at 7:38 p.m. After Donald was executed, Christy Ann's mother, Carol, had said, "We are here to bring closure to the loss of our beloved daughter and sister. Her life was not in vain. Even in death, she brought light to the darkness of evil that surrounded her when she was murdered." The Fornot family also stood together before the media and said that they felt at peace with the outcome, but that they also said that in hindsight, they do not condone the death penalty. When their daughter was murdered, a sentence of life without parole was not a legal option. "We pray for the family of Donald Beaty as they too have suffered through the years," Carol Fornoff said. Donald Beaty's last meal was a chimichanga, a double cheeseburger with fries, Rocky Road ice cream, and a Diet Pepsi. Personally, I would give this last meal probably an 8 out of 10. It was pretty good. I did enjoy the chimichanga quite a bit. There's nothing wrong with the double cheeseburger. I'm not a huge fan of Rocky Road ice cream. Please don't come for me. It's just something about the nuts and the marshmallows in the ice cream just bothers me. So I wasn't too thrilled with that, but I understand that people have their favorite ice cream flavors. So ice cream itself isn't a bad option. I'm just not a fan of that flavor. I know that it was a relatively short episode, but I still felt like I should talk about it. It was still incredibly sad, and I felt so bad for her mother because she went with her. You could tell that she was a good mother to her daughter, and it still wasn't enough. And it just broke my heart. So I hope that Christy is resting in peace and that her family found peace as well. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and hopefully I will see you on the next one. Again, you can find me on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, all the things. So come find me. Thanks, guys. Bye.